The Fugitive, released in 1993, and stars Harrison Ford, Tommy Lee Jones, along with an excellent supporting cast with memorable names like Joe Pantoliano, Jane Lynch, Julianne Moore, and many more. The plot centers on the path of a grieving husband as he seeks answers following his wife's murder, in which he takes the blame. The combination of an all-star cast, incredible score, intelligent writing, endearing characters, and perfect pacing ties together a piece of cinema that has, in my mind, set the standard for film. So let's get into it. The Fugitive begins with the flashing lights of law enforcement vehicles, and news coverage of a homicide gives us well laid out exposition, and we get our first look at our lead, Dr. Richard Kimball, played by Ford, shaken and being escorted away from his residence by the police. As we transition to an interrogation room, an uncomfortable and intense scene follows, as Richard is questioned by a couple of investigators. The officials are, at best, skeptical of Kimball's story, and ask him for details about the incident, each one getting more invasive and accusatory as the interrogation progresses. One thing I loved about this scene is that Harrison Ford was not presented with the questions he'd be asked before playing out the scene, which made his reactions and responses feel more genuine and really elevated his emotional response in the sequence as a result. Kimball is booked, tried for Helen's murder, and is given the death sentence following a brief and heart-wrenching court scene, where Richard is forced to listen to Helen's last breaths in a chilling 911 call that pretty much solidified the case against him. The next time we see Richard, he is boarding a bus that is set to transport several inmates to another prison. This trip doesn't last long, as a few of the convicts had set up an escape plan. Soon, one of them fakes a seizure, counting on the guards to check on him, and luckily for the criminals, one officer steps in. Chaos breaks out when the guard is taken down, and the second officer, in a panic, draws a shotgun and frantically starts unloading on the convicts on board. This is enough to take the bus off-road, and rolls down a cliffside, making several rotations until it settles on a train track below. What follows is possibly the most intense, and for a moment painful to watch moment in the film. Richard calls to the standing guard for the keys to his shackles before tending to the fallen officer. The moment doesn't last long, as the roar from an oncoming train scares off one remaining convict, Copeland, as well as the trigger-happy guard. This leaves Kimball seconds to lift the wounded officer up and out of the bus, roll him down the hill to safety, and leap from the bus as the locomotive breaks through it in a spectacular and practical shot, which I wish we could see more of nowadays. The sequence continues as the train detaches and is derailed, barely missing a fleeing Kimball as it crashes, and puts an end to a disastrous sequence of events. Following a short moment with Copeland, he and Kimball go their separate ways, and we fast forward to when the authorities have arrived on the scene, including the federal marshals led by Samuel Gerard, played by Tommy Lee Jones. Gerard and his team listen in as one of the wounded guards from earlier is questioned by a short-tempered officer. Bullshit doesn't pass Gerard's sniff test, and law enforcement gets confirmation that Kimball and Copeland are indeed on the run. One of the greatest to-the-point monologues is performed by Jones here, one that I have difficulty believing another actor could have done any better.
What I want out of each and every one of you is a hard target search of every gas station, residence, warehouse, farmhouse, hen house, outhouse, or doghouse in that area.
I'm going to leave the remainder of the story for you to experience, free of spoilers. For a film like this, that matters a great deal. What I will say is that The Fugitive is as strong a film as you will see in the thriller mystery genre, and as a whole, comes as near to perfection as a movie can get. Each actor provides a vastly different personality to their characters, along with a special dynamic between each other. Obviously, the back and forth between Ford and Jones steals the show, but their chemistry throughout the film is complemented by the interactions they have with the other cast. Jones and Pantoliano have hilarious banter that gives me the vibes of a more serious style of a buddy cop relationship. Hervé has an interesting frustration with Jones in his moments of questioning. Even the few brief moments we have between Ford and Ward show us a highly compatible and loving couple moments before the tragedy that opens the movie. This film has that something special which brought what could have been a simple and common premise to an incredibly intriguing and unique piece of cinema. And I stand by my point that The Fugitive is absolutely brilliant.